welcome to the Pello Perspective, episode 4. My name is Michael Dowling, and today we've got a very special guest, our co-founder and managing partner, Stefon Bertram. Welcome, Stefon.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks for having me. This is going to be a bunch of fun.
Yeah, definitely, mate. It's good to get out of the selling routine and sort of into obviously strategizing and talking about what's happening in the real estate market. One thing I wanted to cover off on today was probably more about the winter market that we've just come from. Like at Pello, obviously we've been open now for just over 3 years, and this has been a sort of change, I suppose, as far as the transition from winter into spring. We're selling a record amount of property for the winter period. How did you find things?
Yeah, it's been incredible. I think across the grounds, we always thought it was going to be an early spring. But yeah, it came really early. I think across the group, we had just over 80 transactions in the first 2 months of the financial year. So July, August. And in total, I believe that equaled just over 200 million of real estate sold across the group, which is, incredible compared to other years. So the buyers are back, sellers are out and about, getting their homes ready and keen to look at their next step to their property journey. And I feel like maybe that's the big difference this year is, by getting a great result in winter, it frees up those sellers to go shopping in spring. That's what we've noticed probably more in the lower North Shore. But you guys had an incredible start to the year as well. I believe around maybe close to 40 of those transactions came out of this Northern Suburbs office. Yeah,
we were lucky. We sold 43 transactions in the 2 months. So July and August were our biggest on record so far. And I mean, some amazing results to sort of, like you said, set a catalyst for the spring period. We sold a property at 1 Ratcliffe Street in Ryde, which predominantly was this sort of older, forgotten area of Ryde with the Department of Housing, sort of older homes that have now been or getting sold off. And this is a brand new, wonderful home. But that was the 5th transaction over $4 million in the last 3 months. And for the Ryde area, that's not a trend that happens too often. So
what do you think's the difference there?
I think people do want a move-in ready home rather than the difficulty of building at the moment. So, but they are also appreciating good quality stock. So when a nice home is well finished, well built, also a walking distance to locations with transport and schools like Top Ryde, people appreciate it a little bit more. But the lack of stock in winter has sort of provided a little bit of a catalyst for people to make decisions as well, because the right ones have been on the market and owners have pulled the trigger early in selling. Usually people wait until sort of September, October, or after the October long weekend in particular. And I'm sure heading into spring now, we're going to see more stock and more confidence on the back of that. So buyers are going to have a little bit more choice, but it's just great to see decisions being made.
Yeah, absolutely. And have you got, I saw some of those properties online and they were some pretty incredible homes, and I'd say matching the caliber of finish that you would see in any part of Sydney or Australia for that matter. Despite the different pockets that they were positioned in, did you guys notice that you had a lot of the same buyers bouncing from one to the other? Is that how you were able to sort of get the transactions going in that fast amount of time? Like, I guess the average days on market have almost halved for those properties above 4 million in this market.
Yeah, exactly. I think having more on the market in that sort of $3 to $4 million price threshold actually allowed to educate buyers quicker, but there still isn't enough stock. So buyers are jumping suburbs. So any buyer looking in Ryde at the moment is also looking in Eastwood, West Ryde, North Ryde, Gladesville, even down to Putney. Some are even jumping over Epping Road into Pymble and West Pymble. So we are seeing a bit of suburb hopping at the moment. Yep. And you guys are probably experiencing the same thing in the lower North Shore, I'd imagine, like whether it be the slopes or obviously Cremorne and Neutral Bay. How are you finding the sort of buyer demographic? Yeah,
look, I guess out of the lower North Shore office, we service from Mossman all the way to probably Crow's Nest. We do see quite a spread of suburbs that buyers are looking at, and that's probably comes back to one thing, that's low stock levels. But to your point, we at Pello, as you know, we've got that central database, and I guess by having 15 agents and 50 staff in total, sort of operating the one CRM, you rather than some offices will have 3 or 4 CRMs in the same office. We do have great visibility across the 3 regions: Lower North Shore, Upper North Shore and the northern suburbs. And it's amazing how many times, Alex Mintorn and myself are on the phone having a buyer that missed out on a property with him one week, and next minute they're bidding at an auction with us. For example, 46 Royalist Road, the second best buyer there, they had missed out the week prior. I think it was Taramara they were looking in. And then we ended up trading that property for $5.7 million. But yeah, I think when stock contracts, that's where buyers have that sense of urgency, but they also spread their property search and I guess the region they're looking in.
Well, we're seeing that at the moment as well. So Alex has just sold a property at 51 Kintor in Wurrunga, and that seller is actually a buyer in our area, which is quite interesting. But the relationship that Mindy and Alex have with that client is transferable across to our area. So we're helping them trying to find a luxury duplex in our area for a downsize. And yeah, there's definitely that transferable sort of database across the network, which has been really good. And like you said, as stock contracts, that relationship sort of grows.
Yeah, and I think not just transferable relationship, but transferable service offering. Like we hear that a lot, where when your agents communicate with the same care, the same work ethic, and the same level of professionalism. And it is kind of that is one part of our business where it's one size fits all. I think when there is that pursuit of 6-star service and mastery in every interaction, and I guess to have everyone singing from the same hymn book and running in the same direction, that is quite unique. But I think, some buyers joke about it. It's like, am I in Wurrunga or am I in Mossman? So it's great I guess that's a really kind compliment that we seem to hear a bit.
So over the last 2 months, or month in particular, Stefon, was there an auction that just stood out in the lower North Shore where you guys just hit it out of the park?
There's been a range of different great results, but I think whether it's one of the bigger ones like 46 Royalist Road, which was an elevated position on a corner block, kind of in that high 400s square meters, and that one sold for $5.7 million, or whether it was 3 Want Street, which was a unrenovated semi, no parking, but it just had endless scope for future improvement, and something like that. The reason why I really loved that auction was, that was a really great owner. She had owned it since the 70s. She really trusted us and backed the process. And, we kind of got to the auction date and it just needed probably a little bit more time. She backed our process and we actually delayed the auction 2 weeks, and just 2 of our top buyers just weren't in a position to pull the trigger. One hadn't sold yet, and the other one was still working through a few things in the background. And by taking it to auction 2 weeks later, we ended up having 5 registered bidders rather than 2. Bidding started at 2.7, and we ended up selling that one for $3,325,000, which was a significant difference for that owner. And I think, with auctions, it's it's not always about just get all the buyers to auction. There's also a lot of strategy that goes before the auction, at the auction, and sometimes even after the auction. So those probably that auction really stood out from the crowd. But there's been quite a few selling prior as well. I know you guys have had, I think, 4 last week sell prior. So how are you guys seeing it all?
Well, I think the auction at the moment is really sort of urging buyers to make quicker decisions. Not a lot of buyers want to go to auction, so I am finding that deadline really working to the owner's favour at the moment. And obviously a lot of buyers are sort of missing out on previous auctions and becoming motivated for the next one.
Yeah,
probably apart from the one at 1 Ratcliffe Street that we spoke about earlier, I think another one that was a phenomenal result for our team in Eastwood was number 1 Ald Avenue in Eastwood. So that was an older Californian bungalow, unrenovated, nice extension done sort of in the 1970s. But the difference between this and most properties in Eastwood was it only had a 13 metre frontage. So obviously the typical duplex development option or anything like that needs that 15 metre frontage or more if it's over 600 metres squared. Yeah. So that wasn't an easy one because we had a lot of people coming through, great location, but as soon as they found out the frontage, they were dropping away and becoming not interested. So But yeah, the owners trusted our process. They were a little bit hesitant and nervous about the auction process, but they understood that to get the multi sort of range of different ethnicities to the boil and to get that decision made prior to auction, we had to sort of generate that urgency.
Yeah.
We ended up selling it sort of 4 days prior to auction for $3 million, which was absolutely phenomenal based on the comparables for a property with a 13-metre frontage, especially with the renovations needed and obviously everyone dropping away and becoming interested in others. So, yeah.
And what's the difference there? Like if you were to double click on that process, thinking back to the campaign, was there a turning point where, you know, you really could have taken that left or right, but you decided to go ahead in one direction, and that was the, I guess, the start of the pre-auction negotiation or that sell process?
Yeah, so I think an agent at the moment, you need to have almost like a sixth sense to be able to judge who is the right buyer. Like we're getting a lot of inspections through every property. Like an average week at the moment can be 15 to 20 people coming through, but in my experience, out of those 15 groups, there's probably only 2 genuine, motivated and emotional buyers at the moment. So as an agent, you've got to have a bit of experience to understand who's the right person and the wrong person to deal with. And this buyer in particular, they made an offer, but not only did they make an offer, the next day they actually followed it up with a phone call, and then they actually followed it up the day after with changes to a contract.
Yep.
So any buyer that does actions within a 3-day period is a lot more emotional than there was a couple of other buyers that sort of flaked away a little bit after an initial discussion around an offer. So you got to kind of judge those behaviors correctly. And as an agent, if you take too long to make those decisions, thankfully the owners are also on board. Like the owners, the great clients, family friends of ours as well, like knowing them for many, many years, it was just vital that they did trust us at Pello. And I think the key is making sure that we could give them the right advice around why to sell prior to auction and not thinking that it's just an agent panicking, wanting a sale quickly.
Yeah.
And the starting offer was a lot lower than 3 million. The starting offer was 2.8. So to get them up from 2.8 all the way to 3, that's sort of that final stage of that, using that emotion to sort of capitalize on the price as well.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. I think the number one rule to selling is you know, find out what the customer wants and give it to them. And I think, yeah, listening to your buyers and working out, you know, is pre-market the best time for everyone involved? Is pre-auction the best time for everyone involved, or is it at the auction? And I love how you said, you know, it's not about your motives, it's about what's right for the customer, but also what's right for the buyers is also a lot of the time what's right for the vendor, because if they feel comfortable and they feel like they've had a really fair opportunity, they're naturally going to, you know, I guess compete with more confidence. And yeah, we see that even, I think, out of the 15 properties we've sold over the last 7 weeks, 3 of them were off market, but 2 of them probably came 2 or 3 days before we thought they would come. But I guess once that first offer was there, create a transparent playing field for all the buyers. But, you know, one we sold last Thursday night, it was, one down Somerset Street, great Art Deco apartment, 2 bedrooms. You know, that the owner did a nice renovation. They bought it for, I think it was $1,450,000 off my colleague Titan, and yeah, we ended up shopping it around to some buyers pre-market, and first offer came in at, I think it was around the 1.8 mark, and then there was 2 buyers that really bought into the transparent process that we created, and from 2 p.m. all the way up to, I think it exchanged at 10:35 p.m. at night, and you know, Titan was driving back with the contracts at 10:45, and you know, buyers are happy, vendor is happy, and it ended up selling in the early 2 million. So I think it's just, it's like when it's funny you use the word sixth sense. Like I think it when it's going to happen, it's going to happen, and it can't be when we want it to happen. It has to be when it's right for the owner and right for the buyers.
That's correct. Yeah, using natural energy to everyone's benefit.
Yeah.
So Stefon, I wanted to take the listeners on a bit of a journey as to sort of how we first started working together, and that was some years ago now, back in 2008, and obviously went on a journey, obviously creating a wonderful business with McGrath to start things off, and obviously now reconnecting many years later and creating Pello as a brand. It's some journey we've been on. But tell the listeners and obviously the public in regards to how did it all come about, the Pello brand and obviously this new establishment we're in. Yeah,
look, it sort of it was just a natural progression. Like I think that was a phenomenal journey that we had in the northern suburbs, kind of building that office up and then selling it back to the major franchise. And then, obviously we went our separate ways. And for around, it would have been, I don't know, upwards of 3 years or so that we were doing our own thing. And then, I think I had a burning desire to do something that really kind of ticked 3 major boxes, which was, number one, fiercely protect culture. And, I guess that, it's a blend of kind of a no dickhead policy, but also, I guess just like-minded people. And then number 2 was, a safe place for high achievement. And, I guess that's where you're not at the mercy of what maybe your brand's doing 10 suburbs that way or 5 suburbs that way. And whether that's swimming outside the flags or whether it's just not living up to the brochure when it comes to customer service. I think, so for me, and then soon after, Alex Mintorn was on board with that as well. And then the third box that we really wanted to tick with Pello was a long runway for our people. And I think, when you are the main owners of the business, there's so much more runway that you can give the next generation coming through, and you can kind of really incentivize the right things in an organization rather than just constantly chasing who sells the most and how to sell the most. And you can see, there's been a few brands maybe get into a little bit of hot water by maybe just championing who sells the most rather than actually having a bit more of a holistic approach to how they bring through that next generation, because I think it's a marathon, not a sprint. And that was pretty big for the 3 of us. So, obviously Alex and I were going down that path. And then I think, it came across your desk and you sort of made the joke that if the band's getting back together, well, then it's got to be a triangle. Yeah, that's it. Let's do it. And I think a casual conversation turned into something a lot bigger. I think, we were both in 2 major franchises in Australia at the time. And we took the concept of the super group to both franchises, and we kind of looked at what they had to offer, and I guess we really as much as we tried our best, we just couldn't achieve those 3 things under those different options that were put in front of us. So for us, it became an easy decision. I guess the word Pello, the name Pello comes from the word peloton, which is a team in motion. The second L, as you know, it's that's to embody teamwork and culture. I think it looks a little bit better having a second L as well, Definitely. But rolls off the tongue. But so the second L was all about culture. But then the reason why they're forward facing, which is a question we get a lot, and that's all about performance, and that it's a reminder that we're a performance brand and we're here to perform. First for our customers, but also for the team that, showing up every single day and, working for our customers in the background. And because it is a team sport, real estate. Like, it's not as much as our name might be on the signboard. There's so many people. It goes through around 16 hands in the background to make every sale a reality. Yeah. And, I think performing for the customer, performing for our team in the background, and also performing for our families. Like, you've got 3 kids, I've got 3 kids. I think real estate, it's supposed to give you a life and not take it away. But so if we're going to miss soccer on a Saturday, well, it's like, well, get out there and do a great job and perform for your customers. And, it doesn't matter if someone else wants to, they miss something upstairs, like, well, let me show it to you and run up the stairs, even if it's a hot day. And I think the customer can just smell when you are 100% committed, rather than potentially a little bit half baked. And I feel like that's, and it's just, it's easier to play at a higher level. It's funner to play at a higher level. And we see that across our whole team. So we're definitely not the biggest in any of our markets. We're definitely not the oldest in any of our markets, but arguably we're having the most fun and hopefully doing an incredible job along the way.
Well, I think also we're tried and tested through experience in each of the areas as well. So we haven't changed regions. We haven't changed what we're doing. And what you were referring to earlier, we've already seen sort of some cross-referencing. I've had plenty of buyers come throughout ride homes and open homes with our team and actually make jokes to me that, oh wow, this is all presented exact same as Alex Minton's property in Wahroonga.
Yeah.
And that's that consistency across multiple areas that you just don't have control of at major franchises. So that's a really cool thing to hear from a client when they're coming through as far as that forward-facing customer service. But also the team, like you mentioned, the long runway for our people. Like we've already seen 2 partners come on board since we've created the brand. Obviously, Chris Panisi and David Smealy, and it's great seeing their growth throughout the brand. But also associates, like we've had some brilliant associates like Titan Davies, Martin Fleedner. Like they're sort of moving up and listing properties and becoming great agents within themselves at the moment. So Connor Goggins, there's plenty of names that are in our brand now that we've seen from start to finish, obviously through the training that we've offered as well and the consistency.
Yeah, I think that's important. Like it's investing that little bit more upfront to get the dividend down the track. Like I think this industry, it does have that side to it, which is a bit more of that rock star culture, and you know how good can you look for the Instagram. But you know, I think the style has to be backed by substance, and I think that's the substance is where we spend a lot more time on. And yeah, like nobody's perfect, and we try our best. But I think at this, if you constantly are trying to refine that substance side of the business and have a high caliber of training, look after people, and also care about what the next generation's doing, that seems to sort of ripple through the whole organization. And yeah, it's nice to know that. Like we meet probably like last year we sold around 380 properties across the group. This year we're on track for probably upwards of 500. So yeah, like each Saturday we're meeting upwards of 1,000 or sometimes a couple of thousand people each week. So I enjoy knowing that whether it's a leasing of a 1-bedroom unit or whether it's a sale of a $6 million, $20 million house, a 6-bedroom, $20 million house, I hope that, you know, the service offering is almost the same, if not the same, across every touch point with every customer we have. And it's also nice to know that if it isn't, someone can pick up the phone to you, Alex Mentor, myself at any time. And, you know, they won't just get lip service. Like it'll be something we genuinely care about. And I think when you've got, you know, arguably a pretty small team, like, you know, 500 transactions from 15 agents across the lower North Shore, upper North Shore, and the northern suburbs, it is truly a brand that's built on fewer people for better reasons.
Definitely. And mate, I'm really excited to see what our future holds. Like obviously we're seeing some green shoots, obviously with transaction numbers and so on, but property management growth. We brought on some brilliant stuff over the last sort of 12 months, which will see Pello grow to another level over the next 12 months. So that's going to be an exciting journey. We've obviously seen some great branding with Sophie Bogart handling our marketing management. Obviously, there's going to be some phenomenal things over the next 12 months, and I'm truly excited to see where this thing's going to go.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like, yeah, Sophie's doing some incredible things. I think she's doubled the traffic to her website in the last 6 months. And I think when you've got, you know, that style backed by substance, I think that's where we started. And but yeah, even the innovation award that we've just been nominated for, so the most innovative brand in Australia, and I believe 2 different major organizations that do their own voting system have both nominated us as a finalist in that. So I think that's announced next month, so that'll be really interesting to see how that goes. And yeah, but I think it's just, it goes back to that marathon versus a sprint approach. It's like if you focus on the little things, the big things will work out themselves.
That's correct. And I think that innovation award comes back to not just the branding and the creation of things and items throughout the team as far as that consistency. What it does come back to as well is the online app that we've created for our staff, and obviously that universal checklist system where it just keeps workflow in the right direction, and obviously handles from one touch point to another, it's handled with ease. And I think that's something which is truly unique in the whole of our industry. Yeah.
And I think, again, it's there was a problem there, and how do we solve that problem, and how to use technology to solve it. And I think I think it was in Jim Collins' book, Good to Great, like technology should not be the creator of momentum. Technology should be the accelerator of momentum. So we've always used paper checklists, but we value the role fulfillment of our back-end staff, and that's why we also value the high retention of team members that we have at Pello. But it's like, how can we use technology to make sure that it's a nice seamless workflow in the back end, whether it's a central CRM across the whole group with automated, AI that sort of flows through there to, again, help our team get bigger, more results with less time. The client wins there, the team wins, but also the families win because they get to see either mum or dad hopefully get home a little bit earlier, at least once a week, where they get to see, have their mum or have their dad, at home, because, I think we're not all just real estate agents. We get to go home. We've
got home lives.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. How do we be a good dad and a good mum and a good husband and a good wife along the way as well? So I think, that's where we start with the end in mind and strip it back. And it's like, okay, well, what does success look like here? What is the roadmap that's going to get us there and make sure that it's resilient too, and it's stress tested. So it's like, it's not just going to work on 100 transactions, but it'll work for 500 and 5,000 transactions.
Well, I think the world we live in at the moment, speed is a great currency. Like with the world of Uber, obviously, it's changed everyone's transaction times, made everyone sort of used to getting things now. And I think that's the same with allowing people to sort of get some time back, like you mentioned. Whether we win those awards or just nominated, I think it's an absolute accomplishment for us. So it's definitely something that I'm very proud of. I know you and Alex are very proud of as well. But yeah, like I said, it's going to be great if we do take home the gong. But mate, at the end of the day, just being nominated in the top group in the whole of Australia for innovation in real estate is just a great achievement after 3 years.
Absolutely.
So Stefon, heading into spring, obviously weather's warming up and fighting up now after all that rain in August, and I've got some great auctions around the corner and some big activity. What about you guys in Mossman? Any sort of particular auctions you want to make note of?
Yeah, I think it's just exciting. Like the weather's the weather's here, the buyers are here. Well, they've been here clearly for the last 2 months, but I'm also seeing some great properties on offer as well. One in particular we've got over the next few weeks is 244A Raglan Street. It's a beautiful duplex, Torrance title. It's a stone throw away from the sand at Balmoral Beach, and it's just a really rare offering. Like I think, like the price guide there's 7,700,000, and under 10 million. It's very hard to get sun in Balmoral, and I think what I love about that one is it really reaches up in so many areas of the property and reaches up and grabs that northern sun. And I think that'll be interesting. Like it's also catering to such a wide group of buyers. You've got downsizers that just understand that being up on Balmoral slopes, they don't call it Balmoral slopes for nothing. So, if you want to use the sand, you want to be down low so you can get out that front door and go and enjoy the beach that you've invested so much to be near. And but then there's also just great executive couples and sometimes empty nester downsizers that have a much busier life that value just low maintenance living, and it's go for a swim, come back, just a great lifestyle. So that one will be one to watch. We've got a few great buyers on that, and there's probably 3 or 4 others in the month of September and going into early October that are definitely that definitely have the bounce. So yeah, it's going to be an exciting 30 days ahead. How about you guys?
Yeah, likewise, we've got a few auctions booked in across the team. I think we've got 22 auctions booked in for the whole of September, which is pretty big for us. But at the same time, that's a sign that sellers are obviously watching the results that have just happened. So, a couple of properties to particularly take note of. 27 Rocker Street in Ryde. It's probably prime residential address in Ryde, like flat block, really, really nice rejuvenated home. Stone's throw to Midway Shopping Centre and the bus transport, right on the footsteps of obviously convenience to schooling. But also the property, the way it's designed, it's got that perfect indoor and outdoor flow. It does have a little studio, self-contained studio at the back as well, which is good for in-laws and also obviously teenage retreats. But a lot of people now are using them as home offices as well. So there's not many on the market at the moment that have that accessible point. So I think that's got a lot of interest, and that goes to auction over the next week. So that's going to be a really
midway shop. So would that be bordering sort of Eastwood, Marsfield, Denniston East?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the Jelly Bean roundabout there. So
you've got the trifecta of where everyone wants to be.
That's
in
it.
The northern suburbs.
There's no need to suburb hop because it's right in the middle of them all. So so it's perfect. But overall, there's a lot of pickiness in regards to sloping blocks, low side of street, high side of street. This one is probably the flattest block in the area. So it's definitely getting a bit of interest at the moment, and it's going to be a really exciting auction. Another one is 20 Zola Avenue in Ryde, which again is not too far from Rocker Street, but that offers a 2-bedroom granny flat. And we've seen some great interest at the moment with granny flats, and a lot of people renting them out to subsidise the mortgages. And there's also people wanting them as just extra home offices or in-law accommodations as well. But that one, we are getting a lot of interest just because it is a move-in ready situation, and that goes to auction end of September. So that one, like a lot of properties, is getting interest prior to auction as well. So I wouldn't even be surprised to see that one sell before auction.
Yeah, great. So what else? As we wrap up, what are you excited for outside of work?
Matt, over the next 4 weeks, like you said, the weather's finding up. Like we probably had the wettest August. I think it was the wettest August on record, and a lot of rain, and sort of people trying to prepare their homes, get ready for sale, and just being able to sort of finish up winter sport and head into summer sport as well, and obviously beach activities and so on. You'd see a lot of activity in Mossman around the beach weather at this time of year.
Yeah, well, I think it's definitely a well-welcomed break from that winter sport with all the kids going into the summer sport. But yeah, you're right. We had, I think, the best May and June and even July, where it was just dry as anything, and then the rain all came in August, but it is warming up, and it's that cliche spring has sprung. But no, we're excited for a really good couple of weeks, and then you've got the grand finals, the long weekend, and then there's always that great sprint all the way up to Christmas. I guess watch this space. It's looking to be great.
Thanks for joining us today, Stefon. It's been great having you on board and getting just the background on Pello and obviously how things are tracking in the lower North Shore. So thanks for joining us.
Pleasure. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's been great fun. Trip down memory lane.
That's it, mate. That's it. It's been great, and obviously a big journey. But obviously we've got a great sort of future ahead at Pello, and we're looking forward to it. We will be obviously bringing the next episode 5, over the next month. And excited to have another special guest on then. I won't go into detail now, but going to be great for those listening as far as finance and so on. So we're looking forward to that.